the game on the line, you can't fold and you can't bend. Y'all be playing it safe and I be going for the win. Remember back when they was doubting on the kid. Now they tuned in cause my game too legit.
There's a lot of you don't know about the fantasy headlines. Nation. Headline nation. Fantasy headlines for the nation. I'm a headliner. I'm a headliner.
Yo. Analytics off the chain. All the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. Y'all stuck on third down. Your content's plain Jane. Headliners on top now. We gonna move and change. Podcast off the rip. Draft guide, so legit. Fantasy world, our game tight. You know we about that chub life. Stuck in a rut and you need some motivation. Head to the channel for this Headliner Nation.
I'm a headliner.
Yo, what up, nation? Sunday morning, Christmas Eve. I had a Santa hat and I sat it down and I couldn't find it. I was going to wear it today. But alas, we move on. We move forward. Sunday morning means we are here to talk about some pick'ems to begin with. We're going to be diving into some pick'ems over on Underdog. Trying to win a little bit of money. Decent bounce back week last week. Had some good pick'ems come through. Won a little bit of money. My over ticket for the tight end position smashed. So hopefully you all were able to trail that. Had a few more tickets that brought a little bit of moolah in as well. And now I'm realizing my phone disappeared. Boom. There we go. And then... So we're going to do that for the next hour-ish or so. So we'll be live talking about pick'ems. We'll be using our friends over on OddsJam. If you've been here, you already know what we're going to do. If you haven't been here before, welcome in. If you're interested in tailing any of the pick'ems that we talk about today, there's a couple of different ways that you can do that as well. You can head on over to Underdog, sign up using code word headliners. If you deposit at least $10, they are going to go ahead and push your... Oh my gosh, I didn't turn super chats off. Hold on a second. Chat, pin comment. We're not doing any starter sit questions. Hold on a second. I gotta have to turn super chats off. I forgot to do that. So I'll answer that one real quick, but that will be the only one. Okay. Yeah, chat. Just remember, pin comment, no starter sit questions during this show. D-Mitch, Baker Mayfield, Baker, Flacco, or Murray, Merry Christmas. We have Murray ranked the highest of that group. Okay, super chats are off. My bad there. But if you want to sign up over on Underdog, code word headliners, they're going to match your deposit up to $100, and they're going to give you a special pick'em that you can play along with anything that we talk about today. And it's a pick'em that's almost guaranteed to hit. We're talking about over under 0.5 yards for somebody. So definitely an opportunity to take advantage of that. Keep in mind as well, if you've never signed up for Underdog and you're interested in possibly redeeming yourself after a disappointing fantasy season, they are going to have some NFL playoff best ball leagues available as well. So also a great time to get signed up. So then you'll be eligible to start playing in those when they start up at the end of the regular season. And then as far as the betting goes, you can find all this information that we use and the tools that we use over at OddsJam. And if you're interested in getting started over there, you can get a free free 7-week trial by using code word LINERS, LINERS over there. But on top of that as well, you get a 30-day risk-free trial and 30% off of your first month as well. 30-day money back. So if you try it for a month and you think to yourself, not going to use as much as I would like, you can get your money back. No questions asked. Thanks to our friends over at OddsJam for letting us see all of these tools. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Where is my... Hold on, let me move my screen a little bit. There's that. Let me pop the chat out so I can see all of your pretty faces. There we go. And let's head on over to OddsJam and see what we got over there. If it will, there it goes. There we go. All right. Chris Rodriguez Jr. going over 9.5 rushing attempts against the New York Jets. It looks like one other book has him at 10.5 right now. I don't mind this one. But there's only one other book. It looks like there's minus odds across the board to go over 9.5. One other book, FanDuel, has him at 10.5. I'm going to stay away from that one right now. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me refresh this just in case. It's been open for a few minutes. That might be a good idea. And yeah, that one's gone even. Oh, man. A.J. Dillon under 7.5 receiving yards. Not seeing a lot of movement there. Nick Mullins under 35.5 passing attempts. FanDuel has them at minus odds to go under 34.5. And then we got minus odds to go under 35, under 34.5, under 35. Man, so the sports books are definitely telling us Nick Mullins under 35.5 passing attempts is the way to go. And I'm going to go ahead and lock that in as our first pick this morning. I will say, though, I'm not absolutely in love with it just because I do feel like this game could end up being a little bit more defensive oriented than what we would like. Especially from a fantasy standpoint. So I am a little bit worried about that, but I'm also worried about Detroit, because Detroit either shows up and plays like they did against Denver last week, which would lead to Nick Mullins having to throw the ball even more often, or Detroit shows up and play like garbage like they have at other times this season, and he ends up going way under this. So I'm a little bit worried about that one, but it is what it is. Drake London to go over 4 receptions. Not loving that. Several books have him at plus odds to go over 4.5. What do we got here from Lamar Jackson? Over 29.5 passing attempts against San Francisco. Over 30.5. Over 30. So Lamar Jackson, pretty solid bet. We're going higher than 29.5 passing attempts. Javonte Williams under 15.5 rushing attempts against New England. Minus odds to go under 14.5. Minus odds to go under 15. Minus odds to go under 15. So, ambiguity. Yeah, you can never see me when I have the sportsbook screen up, because if I have my camera up, you can't see all the information. So Javonte Williams to go under his rushing attempts. Also looking like a good pick right now over on Underdog. Javonte Williams lower than 15.5 rushing attempts. That is going to be our first ticket of the day. So let's go ahead and take a look at it there. The first ticket that we have out there today, decent odds. Nick Mullins lower than 35.5 passing attempts. Lamar Jackson higher than 29.5 passing attempts. Javonte Williams lower than 15.5 rushing attempts. What are the top 2 picks we're feeling most confident in? That's a great question. We're 3 picks in so far. So I don't know. I don't have a ton of information as of yet. We're rolling through it though. We're going to keep looking at them, and we'll maybe we'll find ourselves a little big boy ticket for today. That would always be nice. I do like some. There are some tight end picks today that I'm liking. I'm feeling really good about. So we'll talk about those maybe. Let's move right along. Chris Rodriguez under 10 rushing attempts now, but not feeling that. We've got minus odds to go under 10.5, but then plus odds to go under 9.5. Not liking the differences there. Aaron Jones over 12 rushing attempts. Minus odds to go over 12.5. Minus odds to go over 13. Minus odds to go over 11.5. So let's go ahead and take a look at Aaron Jones going over his rushing attempts here. Higher than 12 rushing attempts. I'm sure that we'll probably need to lock that in here pretty quickly. Do you try the small gambles like Foreman since he's considered out but hasn't been confirmed? Ambiguity. What would happen, though, even if we were to put a ticket in with Foreman, if he doesn't play, it becomes a push. So you wouldn't get credit for it anyway because he would never have played. Chuba Hubbard over 17 rushing attempts going up against Green Bay. Over 17.5 with minus odds. Over 16.5 with minus odds. Over 18 with minus odds. Over 17.5 with minus odds. Chuba Hubbard over, over on the rushing attempts. We're going to go Chuba Hubbard higher than 17 rushing attempts. Gardner Minshew over on the passing attempts, going up against Atlanta. 31.5 passing attempts is the line on Underdog right now. 32.5 with minus odds to go over. 32. Only 2 books have him listed there. Carl, just him. So let's say you do a 3-pick ticket, right? So a 3-pick ticket, and you insure it at $10. Essentially, what you're going to do is or let's say you don't insure it at $10. The payout could end up being $60, but it's only going to pay you out for if you get 2 of the picks right and Foreman doesn't play, it's going to void out Foreman, and it's only going to pay you out the ticket as if you had put 2 in. Trevor Siemian against Washington, over 2 rushing attempts. Over 1.5. DeAndre Swift, under 14.5 rushing attempts. One book has him at 14. Calvin Ridley, over 61.5 receiving yards. 65.5, 62. They're feeling some Calvin Ridley today. We're going to go higher than 61.5 receiving yards for Calvin Ridley. Let's lock in our second ticket here. Some decent picks right off the bat. That I don't hate by any means. So we're going to lock in Calvin Ridley higher than 61.5 receiving yards. Aaron Jones higher than 12 rushing attempts. And then Chuba Hubbard higher than 17 rushing attempts. So those are going to be the ones that we're going to lock into ticket number 2. One thing I will say about Aaron Jones, it looks like A.J. Dillon is going to end up playing. So we might see that line move in a little bit. Ezekiel Elliott under 30.5 receiving yards against Denver. 27.5. Minus odds to go under 27, under 26.5, under 30, under 29.5. So the bet based on the sports books right now would be for Zeke to go under 30.5 receiving yards against Denver. I don't know if I like that. The book is definitely telling us to take that under there. It's hard for me to do that. Let's keep going here. Rachaad White over 18 rushing attempts against Jacksonville. 18.5, 18.5, 18.5, 18.5, 18. Wow, the books are all at 18.5. So it's essentially giving us, and they're giving us over or minus odds to go over 18.5. It's a lot of rushing attempts for Jacksonville, because Jacksonville's defense can be a little hit or miss right now. I mean, his last 3 games, he's had at least 20 rushing attempts. He's had at least 20 rushing attempts in his last 3 games. Does it correlate negatively? No, I wouldn't think so. Because if Jacksonville's throwing the ball a lot, it probably means they would be down. And if they're down, then that would mean that Tampa Bay is winning, which means Tampa Bay would be running the football more with Rachaad White. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. And with Ridley's yards can come in bunches. So Ridley could have 3 receptions for over 60 yards and be just fine. He could have 1 reception for 50 yards and essentially make the majority of his day. My issue with this bet is the fact that Jacksonville is hit or miss against the run. And if they're hit against the run this week, it definitely leads me to some concern that they kind of abandon the run with how good Baker Mayfield has played. Jacksonville over the last 4 weeks is about middle of the pack against running backs. Carl, you're up a little bit of cash money. Love that, baby. Congrats. Hey, let's have a nice Christmas Eve and be up even a few more. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and put Rachaad White in for right now. I'm still not 100% sold that I love this one. So we'll see what other ones we come across, and we'll either decide to lock it in or we'll switch things up. But we'll put it in for right now so we don't forget about it. Andy, I think you mean James Cook. Because if you were playing Dalvin Cook, that is 100% your fault. Nobody should be playing Dalvin Cook right now. So I'm thinking you mean James Cook. Dak Prescott under 275.5 passing yards going up against Miami. Yeah, I'm not touching that. No way in the world am I betting the under on anything in that game with the top 2 scoring offenses in football. I would rather not bet it at all. Russell Wilson under 214.5 passing yards against New England. We got a huge discrepancy here from FanDuel at 203 0.5. But then we have under minus odds under 214 here. We have minus odds under 213.5. Does New England really make Russell Wilson's life that difficult? That's my question. He only threw for 177 yards last week against the Raiders. Nope, that would be incorrect. I'm looking at backwards. He threw for 223 and 224 against Detroit and the Chargers. He only threw for 186 and 134 against Houston and Cleveland. 259 against Minnesota. Yeah, I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling that one. It's not feeling good. My loins are not burning, if you know what I mean. Van Jefferson over 9.5 receiving yards. Zay Flowers over 4 receptions. We got a lot of plus odds to go over 4.5 though, so we're gonna stay away from that one. Tyler Heineke under 28.5 passing attempts. Only one other book with different odds. Lamar Jackson under rushing yards against San Francisco. I don't mind that one either. I just don't feel like Lamar is going to be running too much. I don't feel like Lamar is going to be running too much against San Francisco. And 59.5 rushing yards is quite a bit. Now, only one sports book has him lower. That's FanDuel. And FanDuel is a little all over the place this morning, it feels like. Derrick Henry over 15.5 rushing attempts. Oh, if we had plus odds there or minus odds there. So we've got minus odds. We've got minus odds to go over 16.5, 16, and 16. Plus odds to go over 16.5 from one book, which is weird. It's the only book with plus odds. I mean, what is that? Bet Online? If you have Bet Online, I would go there and I would smash plus 100. I mean, Henry's a guy that I like this week anyway, to go over that for sure. All right, so here's our next ticket. Don't mind this one either. Little concerned about Rachaad White going higher than 18 rushing attempts, but it could happen. Derrick Henry higher than 15.5 rushing attempts. I definitely like that this week against Seattle. And then Lamar going lower than 59.5 rushing yards. I do think going up against San Francisco that is solid as well. I want to lock into some of my favorite plays of the week though now. We found a few good bets, I think, to start the morning. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of like my favorite players of the week. Some guys that I really feel like could end up having big days. The one thing that I'll provide feedback to odds jam about is, so Roshan Johnson doesn't have any. He doesn't have anything available except this right here. And against Arizona, I would be willing to lock in that spicy rushing plus receiving. I don't mind that. I think Roshan Johnson has a decent day today, to be honest with you. I'm trying not to get overexcited because I don't want people to be expecting too much from him today. David Njoku. These are just some that I saw earlier in the week that I really, really liked. David Njoku, higher than 50.5 receiving yards against Houston, I think is 100% a solid pick'em. We'll see if Evan Ingram's line his 54.5 receiving yards for Evan Ingram. Let me see here real quick. So Evan Ingram's line has shifted pretty considerably, but I'm still going to go over 54.5. I got him for 51.5 earlier in the week. Running back wise, give me a minute here. What's Zeke at for rushing yards? Zeke is at 66.5 rushing yards going up against Denver, a team that has allowed the most rushing yards in all of football. Zeke going over 66.5 rushing yards, I think, is solid. You could go with the fantasy points instead if you wanted to. I'm going to go with the rushing yards there. Like I said, Roshan Johnson unfortunately does not have anything else. DeAndre Swift, his line of 64.5. I'm probably staying away from DeAndre Swift. He's just been too up and down. What's Chuba at? Chuba, we took the rushing attempts. I think that's pretty solid. 74.5 rushing yards is a little on the high side. It's not awful. What's Pacheco got? A little bit worried that, maybe they just don't run him as much as we would like. What does CEH have? Just touchdowns. I don't want to take that. If he had really low yardage, I would say that might be a good one. I don't think I've won an over bet all year long with Bijan. I don't feel like I've won an over bet all year with Bijan. But he would be a solid bet here. What's all of Aaron Jones's bets? 49.5 rushing yards. I mean, this is a solid bet against Carolina as well, man. Maybe we do a little bit of a spicy over ticket here. Maybe a little spicy over ticket. Maybe not throw a ton of money down on it. Maybe not throw a ton of money down on it. But maybe we lock in a little spicy over here. I'm going to go ahead and take this ticket right here. I'm going to go Roschon Johnson to score a rushing or a receiving touchdown for a 1.5 boost. Evan Ingram to go higher than 54.5 receiving yards. Ezekiel Elliott to go over 66.5 rushing yards. Aaron Jones to go over 49.5 rushing yards. And David Njoku to go over 50.5 receiving yards. That's what we got right there. If you don't like the Roschon Scorcher, what you could do is replace it with like a Derrick Henry pick'em if you wanted to. We took the over of 15.5 rushing attempts already. I don't mind that one. Oops. We don't mind that one. Let's go back over to OddsJam here and let's see if we can find anything to make us feel real good outside of what we've seen already. Steven, the last slip was Roschon Johnson to score a rushing or receiving touchdown. Evan Ingram and David Njoku to go higher on their receiving yards. And then Zeke and... Oh, shoot. What was the other one? Zeke and Aaron Jones to go over on their rushing yards. This one has popped up here for Ryan Tannehill to go under 30.5 passing attempts. Got a couple of sports books giving you minus odds for him to go under that. Lamar Jackson over on the passing attempts. We've talked about that already. Javonte Williams under on the rushing attempts. We've talked about that. Aaron Jones over. We've talked about that. Chuba Hubbard over. We've talked about that. Minshew, we decided to pass on. Jonathan Taylor over 17.5 rushing attempts. That's popping up here. And what was the other one that I just mentioned a second ago that popped up? Oh, Ryan Tannehill under passing attempts. Saquon Barkley under 14.5 rushing attempts. Logan Thomas under 3 receptions. DeAndre Swift under 14.5 rushing attempts. Calvin Ridley, we talked about his over receiving yards. If you're not feeling the Ryan Tannehill under passing attempts, the under completions could be a little bit better. Rashad White, we've talked about his. Dak Prescott said wasn't going to be touching that. Antonio Gibson, under receiving yards, looking like pretty solid bet here against the New York Jets. I don't know if I love that. Obviously, no Brian Robinson helps, but Chris Rodriguez getting so many touches last year is not. I'm not a big fan of trying to bet on Antonio Gibson because he could just. Chris Rodriguez could just disappear this week. I do like the Derrick Henry over rushing attempts. I think that's going to be a solid. B-Rob is out. I know. I just said that, didn't I? Didn't I just say Brian Robinson is out? Or did I misspeak? Amari Cooper over on the receiving yards. Don't hate that one. Over 60.5 receiving yards. Just confirming. Okay. Yeah, no, he's out. I was going to say, I thought I said he was out. Yeah, B-Rob is out. He was ruled out the other day. He's been out. That was confirmed a couple days ago. Amari Cooper against Houston could end up being tough. We know Joe Flacco has played really well, though. We got several books with minus odds for him to go over 60.5. So I don't necessarily hate that. You could look at more like, it looks like his receptions is at 4.5. So if you feel like he's going to be targeted quite a bit, maybe he gets 5 or 6 receptions. Maybe he doesn't quite get the yards that you would like. So if you wanted to go over 4.5 receptions, I think you could definitely possibly see something like that happening. And that's the end of the line here for the book. So we just had a chance to kind of go back through it there. The over on Mostert's rushing yards, I'd have to look and see what that is. Just a moment, please. Let's go ahead and go to our sportsbook screen real quick for Mostert. And we'll see if there's any discrepancies. Right now, his line average odds are 55.6. His underdog line is 55.5. Vivid has the over at 58. FanDuel has the over at 56. And Bally has the under at 53. So there's not a bunch of large discrepancies there. Not a bunch of large discrepancies there. I think somebody asked about David Montgomery rushing yards. Nick K wanted to know about David Montgomery's rushing yards. Hey, chat, just a reminder, pinned comment, not answering start and sit questions right now. If you'd like to ask the chat, you're more than welcome to. Start and sit questions will not get answered until noon on the members only live stream. Average odds right now for rushing yards for David Montgomery is at 55.2. His line is at 54.5. Tipico's got him going a yard over that. Prize Picks, points bet. Fanatics, FanDuel, and Bally. So not a large discrepancy there. It does look like there's a little bit of a thought that he does go over that, but Minnesota's really good against the run. Who else? Anyone else we want to talk about? Mike Evans over on the receptions. Player receptions. Four and a half across the board. ESPN is giving minus odds to go over. Tipico is giving minus odds to go over. Pinnacle is giving minus odds to go over. FanDuel is giving minus odds to go over. DraftKings is giving minus odds to go over. MGM is giving minus odds to go over. Bally is giving minus odds to go over. So essentially, everybody is giving minus odds for the most part to go over. So it sounds like we're at 4.5 receptions across the board right now, but a majority of the books feel like going over is going to be the play there. So I would say if we're going to bet the Mike Evans receptions, we're going to go over 4.5 receptions. Dylan is officially active. Perfect. We know that now. Someone asked about Mike Evans and the receiving yards too. Average odds showing at 66. He is at 65 on Underdog. He's over 65 on 1, 2, 3 books, but Bally Sports is kind of throwing all of that into a cluster because they got it set at 69 or 69.5. Prize Picks just popped up at 66.5. And the books aren't really leaning one way or another on that one. Do we trust Taylor Heineke? That's a double-edged sword there, Carl. Because do I trust him? No. Could it happen? Absolutely. But we've seen anything happen this year, I think. I don't know if I trust him, though. What up, Ryan? Saint Jozeg. Welcome to Holden Chubb. Thanks for joining the exclusive Headliner Nation. Someone asked about Kenneth Walker rushing yards. Player rushing yards. Oh, man. Oh, shoot. My bad, chap. Line is 61.5 over on Underdog. Average line is 62.6. We're all across the board right here, it looks like, on Kenneth Walker. Because we're at 61.5 on Underdog. But then we've got a 65.5. Another 65.5. Another 65.5. A 63.5. And a 60.5. So we're kind of all over the place there with that. And it worries me because we essentially have two books inflating those at that average line because of their 65.5. Anything in the Dallas-Miami game? I mean, I wouldn't bet under on anything, if that's what you're asking. I think I mentioned it a little bit ago when Dak Prescott's passing yards showed up and people had it as an under. I was like, no. No. Not betting the under. Not freaking happening. Yeah, Tyreek. Anytime touchdown, I think, is always a good freaking bet, right? CD Lamb in that game to score a touchdown, probably also a good bet. Somebody does not like the Bengals. Peasy, you posted a nice TD pick'em in the chat. Let's go ahead and share that with the community. Let me find it. Let me find it for you. And let's tell the community what we're betting on to. Oh, here we go. We've got... So Peasy's touchdown ticket today is Derrick Henry scoring a touchdown, Jonathan Taylor scoring a touchdown, Kenneth Walker scoring a touchdown, and Tyreek Hill and CD Lamb scoring a touchdown. So again, Peasy's touchdown ticket, as we'll call it. Peasy's TDT touchdown ticket. We're going to have to get a sting for that, Peasy. CD Lamb higher than 0.5 rushing or receiving. Kenneth Walker with a rushing touchdown. Tyreek Hill with a touchdown. Derrick Henry with a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor with a touchdown. Cardinals said, hold my beer. The Colts do play Atlanta, but Atlanta is potentially missing 3 of their defensive tackles today. They're potentially missing 3 of their defensive tackles today. So if there was going to be an opportunity for someone to score a rushing touchdown, I do believe this would be the day today. Anybody else you want me to take a quick check on? Anybody else you want me to take a quick check on? Couple more minutes and I'm gonna hop off here. We got a few decent tickets today. We won a little bit of cash last week. Hopefully we'll win a little bit of cash this week. Trey McBride, I took the over on already earlier in the week when it was like 61.5. I don't know what it's at now. We're just thinking. I took the under on Lamar's rushing yards. There it goes. So Trey McBride is actually at 60.5 now. So it's actually dropped a little bit, which is good for, which is not good for my ticket earlier because I took the over on 61.5. But it is good for you if you wanted to try and take it today. That's a lot. That's a lot for a. That's a lot. That's a lot for a tight end. If you're wanting to go that route, that's quite high. I do like Trey McBride this week. I do. Still makes me nervous. Did we do an all under slip? We did not. Do you want me to do one real quick? I can. Give me a second here and we can do an all under slip. What did I do last week? An all under slip for running backs, right? Oh, Jesus. I just dropped my... knocking stuff over. I'm going to take lower on Ty Chandler's 57.5 rushing yards. Detroit has only allowed 806 rushing yards this season. The next closest team is at 920, which is San Francisco. And Alexander Madison is playing today. So I'm going to take the under on Ty Chandler there. Gus Edwards playing San Francisco. They've allowed the second fewest rushing yards this season. The one thing I'm going to do with Gus Edwards, and now this is a Monday night pick'em, obviously. But the one thing with Gus Edwards, Jesse, I'm going to flex all of it. Listen, I haven't been able to flex about the Lions in years. I'm going to flex today, baby, and hopefully they get that win and bring home the NFC North. Anyway. The one thing I would do on Gus Edwards is go lower on the rushing plus receiving. And let me tell you why. 200 IQ play here, ladies and gentlemen. Gus Edwards isn't going to get any work in the passing game. It just doesn't happen. Justice Hill would see work in the passing game if they were going to do that. Right now, Gus Edwards' receiving yards, the line is set at 3.5 receiving yards. His rushing yards is set at 39.5. All right? So when you take a look at the rushing yards and you say, I would like to take lower than that, but I wish it was a little bit higher. Well, then you take a look at his 46.5 rushing plus receiving yards, and something there doesn't add up, does it? Right? Because 39.5 plus 3.5 does not equal 46.5. So if you believe that he's not going to get any work in the passing game, and you believe that he's going to be under on the rushing yards, give yourselves a little bit of breathing room and take the lower than 46.5 rushing plus receiving. You know, sometimes we just have big brain plays like that. Another lower that I'm taking a look at, James Conner, lower than 51.5 rushing yards. Chicago's rushing defense on the season had already been pretty good, and for the most part, it's because teams were trying to throw the ball. Over the last 4 weeks, they've only allowed 222 rushing yards, fourth best in the league. The Montez Sweat trade absolutely has helped them. So definitely liking what I see there, taking the under on James Conner. I'm hesitant to touch any lines. Minnesota's run defense is ranked 4th right now. What are the lines for Hunt and Ford? Kareem Hunt is 28.5 rushing yards. Ford is 40.5 rushing yards. This one's interesting because I would like to pick one of those guys. What's Williams' rushing yards at? Javonte Williams going up against New England's run defense. Not only one of the best run defenses in all of football right now, but has been the #1 run defense over the last 4 weeks. Give me lower on Javonte Williams. 54.5 rushing yards. Now, here could end up being another big brain play for you. This could end up being another big brain play for you. Because Javonte Williams is at 54.5 rushing yards, a line of 54.5 right now, with a receiving line of 17.5 receiving yards, but a total line of 75.5 rushing plus receiving yards. So expect, you're taking a look at that right there and you're like, okay, well, Javonte Williams. Do we expect him to really get a lot of work in the passing game this week? Receiving wise, -7 last week. 25 and 24 the 2 weeks before against the Chargers in Houston. 6 yards, 16, 31, 13, 14, 0. Over the last 3 weeks, he only has 3 receptions, and 2 receptions. When you take a look at what New England has done this year against the passing game, they are like middle of the pack when it comes to giving up passing yards to the running back position. Over the last 4 weeks, it's been a little bit higher. So you could end up trying to go lower on the total yards, but because New England hasn't been great against giving up passing yards to the running back position, I'm probably just going to go lower on Javonte Williams rushing yards only there is probably what I'm going to do. And then, man, I just don't. Going up against Houston's front, I'm probably going lower than 28.5 rushing yards on Kareem Hunt. So if we're going to do an all... If we're going to do an all lower slip... If we're going to do an all lower slip... Where the world? Where'd my stuff go to? Hold on a second. Did my phone disconnect? Hold on a second. I would show you the slip, but my phone's not connected anymore to my... Okay, there we go. We're good now. There we go. I'm going to go lower. This is my low ticket. This is my low ticket, my under ticket for the week at the running back position. We're going to go under Kareem Hunt's rushing yards, under Ty Chandler's rushing yards, under James Conner's rushing yards. We're going to go under Gus Edwards' rushing plus receiving yards, and we're going to go lower than Javonte Williams' rushing yards as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for our OddsJam Pick'em live stream here on Sunday morning, Christmas Eve. Hopefully you all have a great rest of your day if you don't plan on being in the members only chat. If you do, I'll see you in the next 11 minutes over there in that stream. But for now, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully you all have got some boom, 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 boom. Wait, did y'all see Underdog put a pack called Arthur Please? No. What is it? Hold on, I got to look at that real quick. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. But chat, for now, I'm going to get out of here. That's going to end it for this stream. I'll see you guys in a few minutes over on the members only live stream. We'll talk start and sits over there. But I'll see y'all in a few. Peace out.
When the game on the line, you can't fold and you can't bend. Y'all be playing this